Welcome to our first of our Cosmic Eclipse trial series. We're just trying out some new decks, seeing what works, what doesn't. On the left here we have Evan, and he is going to be playing BraiZard Control, and on the right we have Nick, who is going to be playing Blacephalon. Both these decks are featuring some new cards. We'll go ahead and mention now, in the BraiZard Control, we picked up the wrong Wheezing earlier, so you'll see a Detention Gas Wheezing come out, and that is the Surrender Now Wheezing. In purposes of gameplay. It'll be an interesting match for sure. Evan has no way to skip Beast Ring turns, so we'll see how that comes into play. But, you know, if Nick doesn't hit like crazy amounts of Beast Rings on his Beast Ring turn, Evan could come back and, you know, drop a Reset Stamp, Jesse James Surrender Now combo to drop him to a 0-card hand. But we'll have to see what's going on here. So they're shuffling up, and if I heard right, Nick is going first. Evan's going first.
Good luck, pal. Have fun.
So Evan started with the Volcanion from Unbroken Bonds there. It's a good start for this deck. It's kind of what you want to see going first. We'll have to see what Evan's going for on this turn. So Evan drops his Pokegear. He's probably looking for a Greens Exploration to be able to go into something like Tag Whistle or Cherish Ball, showing us he's already got the greens in hand, so just kind of flashing this Pokegear for fun here. So he opts to go ahead and take the copy of Lieutenant Surge, probably saving that for later. Doesn't have to worry about Nick discarding it at any point. And Evan's kind of blazing through his Pokegears here with, you know, some reckless abandon. Now, fun fact here is that I actually built the BraiZard deck, Evan built the Blounds deck, so Evan knows he's not getting reset stamped at any point in this game, so he's probably not terribly concerned about just building up his hand here.
I don't think reset stamp is worth it anymore.
So Evan went ahead and played that Greens Exploration, searching his deck for 2 item cards. Nick realizes he didn't have a GX counter, so we fixed that situation. So he's going for a Giant Hearth and another Greens Exploration here. So he pitches the switch to get the Giant Hearth off so he can get some fire into his hand, you know, attach one and get ready for next turn. Yeah, Evans acknowledged he's misplayed here. I was going to say between turns there, he probably should have grabbed Tag Whistle to go into something for next turn so he could welder on it. Yeah, 2 BraiZard being prized doesn't work out well, so Evans gone ahead and scooped, realizing he doesn't really have a win con against Nick right now.
Hello.
And Evan's going to be going first in game 2.
Guys, I'm having so much fun right now. I like this. All this preparation was worth it.
So Nick showing he's got a mulligan here, whereas Evan's starting with 2 of those Unbroken Bonds Volcanions again. So Evan's going to take his 1 card off his of Nick's mulligan here. Nick's got 2 Pokemon set up. See that double Volcanion lead we were talking about. Evan kind of gives a look of, is this really happening right now?
We'll try one.
BraiZard control with no BraiZard is not super fun. So I kind of think what Evan has to hope for here is that Nick gets like 2 more GXs on board and he can go into jumping balloons and get like the knockout on the Blacephalon to just kind of be able to go and hope to get his BraiZard off of some prizes. So Nick opted to go ahead and use the Giant Hearth as well. I mean, he could go aggressive and try to take out this Volcanion with like a welder or attach, or you know, that may be a little much at this point. But, you know, we'll see how Nick decides to approach it. I don't think the welder plays like his optimal play, but he goes ahead and Ultra Space, grabs that Blacephalon.
No, I discarded that for her.
Just a little confusion on what happened with that Cynthia, and Nick's just like, I discarded it, don't worry. I'm not playing it.
Bursting Burn.
And Nick goes for the Bursting Burn. Probably a little more conservative play here. Evans, you know, not really in a placed go take a major knockout this turn. So Evan uses the Ultra Space just to go back through that deck, see what he's got available to him. Nick's just checking the camera out there. He's not going over and peeking on Evan's hand.
We should have show music in there.
I have been looking into music to put in post our videos. For the Celosaur video I recorded a while ago, I do have music there. Yeah, that's certainly something we can talk about putting in post.
So Evan goes ahead and opts to play that Caitlyn Cynthia to grab Welder back, as well as discarding a card to draw 3. Now, just like a timing thing here for those of you watching, when you play that Caitlyn Cynthia, you have to discard before you actually get your supporter back, since it is when you play the card. But, you know, Nick and Evan are friends here, so they're not going to push the issue. Evan's going ahead and throwing down that Braixen and Charizard there. Might be able to go into, you know, like a Flare Strike to pick up a KO, or just have something that'll be a little harder for those Blacephalons to take a knockout on. But he is opening himself up to like a Welder great catcher play and just going way far behind if he can't clean up the board a little quicker. So Evan opts for the switch. And he goes ahead and Flare starts, get some energy on that Braixen and Charizard, trying to be able to take down one of those Blacephalons here. Now, one thing Evan will have to be careful of is Nick is playing some of those Island Challenge amulets, and if these Blacephalons become one prize attackers, it can kind of throw off his hopes of trying to get one of those good draw options. Nick treasures away into Dene, probably looking for a Naganadel or another Poipole to start, gain some more energy on the field there. Goes ahead and gets that Poipole. He's going back in with Ultra Space again, getting some fodder for that Ultra conversion activity there. So here's what we were talking about, where Evan might just get too far behind with that. And yeah, Evan goes ahead and concedes, not being able to get in, having those BraiZard surprised again, just really kind of put a damper on the parade there.
You want to redo that best two?
Well, we can make it a best 3 out of 5 if necessary.
I mean, because you said, like, didn't you say, like, one...
We'll see what's in the recording. But I'm cool with doing best 3 out of 5 right now, just since those first 2 are so crap.
Alright, so we're actually going to shuffle up for a 3 out of 5 here, just because, yeah, if you know, if those of you watching at home, just watch that go real bad real fast, and you know, we may find in the next possible 3 games that it is just that bad for the BraiZard player, but it could just be that prizing BraiZard and not being able to stabilize on any given turn can really, you know, put that into a pinch.
You want to reroll?
I'll go first.
Alright, so Nick's actually going first at this point. They decided to re-roll and basically make it like a new best of 3 series here, since Nick basically went 2-0, and now as they go into their 3 out of 5, we'll kind of see how that plays out. Now going second may work for Evan, especially if he's able to lead with those Unbroken Bonds, Volcanions again, and he can get a Flare starter onto, you know, BraiZard or Reshizard, and might help him tempo up a little bit. Here Nick's starting that Heatran, which may or may not work out for Evan. A little bulkier, harder to move around. But Nick does get that welder, so he is threatening to knock out Volcanion right away if Evan can't make a follow-up play on his turn. Nick plays the Mysterious Treasure, going through his deck, looking for something mysterious to add to his hand. Alright, so Evan does get the greens grabbing Tag Whistle, and still looking for another card there. They get a chance to really look at his hand. Gets the Tag Whistle and another greens, which is pretty good going forward. Goes ahead and plays the Tag Whistle. Kind of eyeing the Megalopony and Jigglypuff and the BraiZard. Looks like he may go with BraiZard and Reshizard and get all the double dragons going here. See the BraiZard and the Reshizard coming down from Evan. Gives a little bit of a shuffle, saying he's going to go back in, probably getting ready to flare starter up one of these boys.
Yes.
Just throws down the Reshizard and goes in flare starters, gaining him those 3 attachments since it is his first turn going second. Nick goes and takes that quick knockout, going up a prize on Evan. It's not pretty inconsequential at this point, though. It's not really advancing anything. He's still going to have to get through those 2 big tag teams at some point. So Evan's kind of contemplating here. He knows if he knocks out the Heat Train, he's going to put himself on B-string turns, and that's, you know, never fun when you don't have a way to skip it. He throws down the power plant, kind of hoping to at least circumvent the Ultra Conversion Naganadel from coming down. That, you know, Nick may have handy there. So he goes ahead, drops another greens, checking out the deck for something helpful. I think this Heat Train was a good play from Nick to start with because it has the 190, which puts it just out of reach of Braixen and Charizard, so that way Evan can't sit up like that Reset Stamp, Jesse James, and Surrender Now Wheezing combo to leave Nick in top deck mode after Nick, you know, goes down to 2-3 prizes. And, you know, at this point, you know, it's anybody's guess how they can kind of really make that happen. So Evan goes for Reset Stamp and Surge. I think kind of the awkward thing here is if like Evan loses the Reshizard, he's not going to be able to get BraiZard up and going on a next turn, and that'll just kind of throw off his tempo kind of a weird way. He didn't really have the resources in hand to be able to welder though, so he kind of just had to make do with what he did have, and we'll see if that's enough. And Evan goes ahead and opts for that GX attack. I think what I may have liked to see here is Evan tossing an energy on the BraiZard. That way, if he picked up like Welder and some energy, by this next turn, he would have been able to get Brilliant Flare up. But, you know, we'll have to see. Does this come back? Is this, you know, anything to worry about? Nick's kind of left in a bad position, though. He just has to hard retreat the Poipole and hide behind a Hoopa, trying to get any kind of semblance of balance going right now. So Nick, Evan goes in and slams down the double custom catchers. I kind of like having those in there for situations like this where taking out the, you know, he's still going up 1 prize, but taking out the Poipole versus the Hoopa is going to give him a better board position, making sure there's no ultra conversion, takes off a B-string target, you know, it just feels good overall in this case. Now, there are great catchers also in Evan's deck, so if the Blacephalons try to hide, he still has, you know, the 1-card option versus the 2-card option. But here we see he kind of gets that first energy on BraiZard, which at this point may be more than enough if Nick can't, you know, really stabilize on his next turn. He'll have one more turn of Beast Ring, but without any real draw off the Ultra conversion. You know, it might not do much for him. So Evan goes ahead and plays the tag whistle, going into Mallow and Lana and Caitlyn and Cynthia. And since Evan went ahead and GX last turn, he can still do that Flare Strike and pick up the knockout here. He Poké Gears, grabs the Welder, just, you know, still thinning the deck out a little bit. Like I said, he built the Blacephalon deck that we're watching right now, so he knows there's no reset stamp coming to punish him for anything, so he can just kind of go as hard as he wants with it. And yeah, he goes ahead, drops that Flare Strike, taking out the Poipole, and then Nick just concedes because he's got nothing else going on.
I feel like this deck needs more energy. Just like times where I'm kind of like sweating.
Yeah, like energy or like more Furnace Flints have always been a consideration.
I mean, I honestly feel like you only need power point on the turn that you're gonna want the combo. So I could see drop a point for Furnace.
Doing like a 2-plant, 2-furnace split. Yeah.
I don't really think you need the flank. You just go for another one.
You think what?
I think you could drop the flint for an energy, and I think you could drop a plant for a furnace. So I guess turn the flint into a earth and then drop it down.
I think you could even go with just doing 3 custom catchers in that situation too, and having that as an option for space.
I'll go first.
So in game basically 2 now, Nick is going first. You know, I think with like the BraiZard decks, it's never really bad when you have to go second, because if you, especially if you start like the Volcanion, that way you can get quick energy out on the field. You can play a little more aggressively, whereas Nick is going to have a hard time just loading up a ton of energy and an easy knockout on anything. He would need a lot of pieces. He'd need like Welder on each turn and Beast Energy possibly, or Double Attach on each turn. And that's asking for a lot without a real draw engine going easily. And, you know, here he goes. He mulligans again.
How you feeling about that so far? I mean, you haven't really gotten to do anything.
Like,
I really don't think recent stuff is in there. I feel like you just want to go straight aggressive.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with not having reset stamp in there. It's just one of those things where, you know you can kind of go a little more aggressive on plays.
I mean, because like all your opponents are going to expect you to have reset stamps.
Yeah.
So they'll not play.
So Nick's first turn is pretty weak here. He just gets to drop a Poipole and a Beast Energy on Blacephalon, and then he kind of passes over to Evan. So Evan may be able to capitalize on this with, especially kind of looking at his hand, and probably go for a tag call with one of his big dudes here, and you know, get a flare starter and pretty much be ready to go to town on that Blacephalon next turn. Getting the beast energy off the field early kind of feels good, especially makes Nick always need 6 energy to get the knockout, whereas with 5 in the beast energy he can get the knockout, but Evan has the choice helmet, so it kind of augments the math back and forth a little bit. Evan. Evan goes for the power plant, making sure if there's a Blacephalon-GX there, the ultra conversion can't come down as easily. So it feels like if he goes ahead and grabs that choice helmet, he probably has a way to get to a backup guy handy. He goes ahead and slaps down that choice helmet, making Blacephalon have a slightly harder time getting the knockout. He'd have to commit all 3 or both of the energies there. Or he'd need a 3rd energy to be able to take the knockout through the choice helmet. So then Evan goes ahead and he plays the tag whistle and he gets BraiZard and Charizard, both of which, you know, kind of do the same thing at this point. The Charizard, you know, kind of pulls its weight a little bit more if Nick goes into that Heatran again. But here we see Evan go ahead and Flare Starter and gain some energy to power up Braixen and Charizard, and he can start building his hand to get those combos that he's got handy into play. Stick gets Naganadel out, which, you know, doesn't do terribly much right now for him. There's no energy in the discard pile. He didn't play a supporter last turn.
Hand size.
And Nick just opts for the burst. And he whiffs the energy and just discards that welder. Probably doesn't feel too great. Wasn't really going to be too helpful either way, you know. Especially if Evan can move into that BraiZard and just take the knockout real quick. And then looking at his hand, he's got the option to kind of do what he wants to right here. So he welders onto the BraiZard. Attaches and retreats Volcanion, and he gets to pull off the first brilliant flare of these 4 games. The Brilliant Flare lets Evan grab 3 cards out of his deck, any 3 that he wants, so he doesn't have to show Nick. Nick is kind of banking on this Naganadel to be his lone warrior here for the moment. And Nick just scoops in probably like the least exciting 4-game series you will ever watch of here one deck does what it's supposed to do, the other one doesn't, and then after 2 games let's flip and watch the same thing in reverse. So there you go. But you know,
That was best of 3.
We just
2 best of 3s in 34 or 33 and a half minutes.